I imagine the folks at the Facebook executive team are very unhappy about this.
In either scenario, breaking up these companies doesn't actually solve the problem.
The self-policing, as we've seen in many other industries, doesn't usually work very well. I think he's probably right in that if Warren is elected and this antitrust stuff moves forward, Facebook might have to deal with some legal ramifications.
One of Facebook's employees, they do these kind of weekly town halls. And so they were asking Zuckerberg about the upcoming elections in the United States. And someone was recording Zuckerberg. And so we've got those recordings and we're going to play them for you right now.
Like Elizabeth Warren, who thinks that the right answer is to break up the companies. If she gets elected president, then I would bet that we will have a legal challenge, and I would bet that we will win the legal challenge. So does that still suck for us? Yeah. I don't have to, have a major lawsuit against our own government. That's not like the position that you want to be in when you're, it's like we care about our country and want to work with our government to do good things. And but look, at the end of the day, if someone's going to try to threaten something that existential, you go to the mat and you fight.
Okay, so there's two more. You can kind of picture Zuckerberg doing that, right? With that stutter. He's probably stuttering for about 15 seconds in a 40-second clip. So here's the next one.
It's just that breaking up these companies, whether it's Facebook or Google or Amazon, is not actually going to solve the issues. And, it doesn't make election interference less likely. It makes it more likely because now the companies can't coordinate and work together.
All right, last one.
That's why Twitter can't do as good of a job as we can. They face qualitatively the same types of issues, but they can't put in the investment. Our investment on safety is bigger than the whole revenue of their company. They literally cannot do it.
So the interesting thing with all of this is generally I would agree with Mark. I don't think Elizabeth Warren is really understanding how to solve the problem that she's identifying, right? And that if you break up Facebook and if you break up these big tech monopolies, is that actually going to solve the problem that she has around privacy, namely being, the predominant issue she's identified. We've spoken about how you really need to focus on the producer and the suppliers or content creators on a Facebook or on a Google or the sellers on an Amazon. And those people are in jeopardy. But still, in either scenario, breaking up these companies doesn't actually solve the problem. I would probably have different examples to support that thesis than what Zuckerberg is talking about. Maybe some of it I would agree with here in terms of what he's saying, just the scale of what they're due, and then, a subtle knock here on Twitter. But what do you make of this, Nick?
It's not a good look to be caught recording on a secret meeting. I think that's part of the scandal is just that, Zuckerberg got caught.
Right, and we got his audio.
Recording. Right, which is unusual.
Right.
I imagine the folks at the Facebook executive team are very unhappy about this, regardless of what's said, because it doesn't look good for them. I think in terms of what he said, I think he's probably right in that if Warren is elected and this antitrust stuff moves forward, Facebook might have to deal with some legal ramifications. I don't think he wanted to be caught on tape saying that, given that this is a potential outcome and that could be used against him.
Yeah. No, it's not a good look for him to be, especially kind of naming Warren and these kinds of things. But it's interesting. When you have these political environments in many companies these days, certainly the large tech monopolies, certainly Silicon Valley skews heavily to the left side of the political spectrum. The interesting thing with this is, if this kind of information is being leaked, clearly whoever was recording this, I would imagine, I don't know, didn't necessarily like what Zuckerberg had to say. You're not going to go and leak the founder and CEO of your company if you're trying to support him and don't want to make the company get into hot water. Not necessarily the biggest team player move to do. But what's interesting is just, again, when we speak to the power that mid-level management has in these large tech monopolies, to make decisions about do I kick this producer off the platform? Do I penalize this person? Do I shadow ban their content?
There aren't any real guardrails other than the ones they've implemented themselves when they felt they've had to.
Self-policing.
Right. The self-policing, as we've seen in many other industries, doesn't usually work very well.
Especially in a highly emotional environment when it comes to politics, right? People just get very emotional. And I think it doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. When emotional decisions are made, and when you have thousands of people making decisions that could affect the livelihood of content creators in Facebook's example, this is where you want an outside, separate, independent arbiter who can take on cases that there might be a gray line or there might be differing opinions here. And right now there's only Facebook who can make that call, and possibly only, that one manager is the decision maker, and you can never talk to the manager on the phone. It's all just through email if the manager decides to talk to you. And that just can't how these kind of either, regulatory decisions that Facebook is taking on creators. That's how it all works.
It's effectively a shadow government on content with a kind of Kafka-esque bureaucracy behind it that no one really understands, and there's no transparency around how it works. And the application of those rules is typically very inconsistent.
Yep.
A lot of the folks that are doing this are basically actually implementing Facebook's moderation and content moderation policies tend to be like relatively low paid.
Yep. Low paid,
contracted out,
and contracted out.
Farms,
yeah, to like Infosys.
That do this, right? That do this as a business, and they aren't necessarily particularly focused on the quality of Facebook's network. It's here's my guidelines, and if you fall in this box, this is how you get treated.
Yep.
Whether or not that in reality makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, we'll see where the rest of this stuff nets out, but I don't know. Maybe now the unfortunate thing is maybe Zuckerberg is now a little less forthcoming or does less of these kinds of internal Q&A sessions, which is unfortunate. Hi, this is Alex Mozed. Thanks for joining us on Winner Take All. If you enjoyed the content today, which I bet you did, please comment, subscribe, and definitely message me on Twitter when we're doing live streams. Also, please note, all opinions expressed about stocks or public companies on the show are exactly that, opinions. This is not investment advice. Don't act on it. WisdomTree licensed Applico's Platform Insights data product to aid in the creation of the PLAT ETF. Thanks for joining us.